Because what makes me think that Rose might win is because she would beat Joanna Jędrzejczyk, I think, any day of the week. But
she has twice.
She beat her twice, and that's to my point that. But then you look at Andrade and Weili Zhang, and Andrade, got obliterated by the knees and everything. So if Zhang does that to Rose, I could see her crippling very quickly. But if Zhang comes in to the fight looking like she did against Joanna, and of course there's a lot of things that went into that because it was in the midst of COVID. She's from China. She had to fly a lot of, a copious amount of times. You like that? But,
you're a jerk.
No, there's a lot of things that could have hindered her performance. So I feel like we are going to see a Weili Zhang that is performance level. And that fight with Joanna was one of the best in maybe the history of the women's.
Fight that she put on.
That sounded bad, but in the history of the sport, but definitely the best women's fight in history.
Hold on. You can say the history of the women's. That doesn't sound bad because there's only been a shorter history of the women's, so of course it's going to be one of the greatest.
I just consider it one of the best fights, not just one, but probably the best.
I think it was one of the fights of the year, in my opinion. Remember when we went back so that was our first fight that you and me actually ever watched together, which is I think where we sparked this idea of actually doing this podcast. It was the Tony Ferguson fight. It was the Oliveira the Cowboy. He was on that card, and so was Weili Zhang versus Jędrzejczyk, and we watched it in your basement, had a couple brewskis, of course, what else is new, and turned out to be in my opinion, one of the fights of the entire year. Weili came in and really set the stage for being the first ever Chinese champion.
It was definitely, it was fight of the year.
I think it was up there for one of them, for sure. Oh, did it actually win fight of the year?
The only other argument was, I think, Figueiredo and Moreno.
Oh, that was a deadly fight, too. That was a great fight. But, yeah, so obviously Weili Zhang came away with the belt. Has, if I'm mistaken, she basically left. Sorry, we'll come back to that in a second. She put on a fantastic match, a striking boxing stand-up match against one of arguably the deadliest women of Muay Thai in the entire division and in entire women's MMA of Joanna Jędrzejczyk. She probably has single-handedly one of the best jabs in all of MMA.
Joanna is known for her terrific striking. What I really don't understand about her is why doesn't she bleed? Why doesn't she just get knots on her?
I don't understand. Maybe it's the Polish in her, or maybe it's the slight Russian in her. I don't know what it is, but she is built differently in the sense of she doesn't bleed, but Weili Zhang swelled her head
hematoma.
Gave her a hematoma. She looked like a Martian by the time that the fight was done. I mean, she looked like Mission to Mars or something over here because her head was so swollen. I was actually afraid it was going to blow up on TV. I thought we were going to have a murder within the ring. Luckily, it did not. She looks great now.
I don't know if Weili.
Is there a certain button
I was talking
that
about
she
this
hit?
last night. Did she not hit her hard enough to cut her open? She just completely pounded her forehead to the point where it just became so inflamed that she looked like she had a couple baseballs in her.
Oh, it was a couple baseballs, a pumpkin, probably a volleyball in there. I mean, it was gnarly looking. But what kind of threw me off is, like you said, she didn't really bleed. So I don't understand.
I don't think she has ever bled.
Even when Rose beat her up twice, Rose looked like she took a little more brunt of the action than Jędrzejczyk did, but Jędrzejczyk still came away, or Rose still came away with the win. I think you said something interesting earlier when you mentioned that when Weili took on Jessica Andrade, she absolutely pummeled her. Mm-hmm. It wasn't really close, and I think that has to do because it was a great stylistic matchup in the sense of one style was more dominant than the other. I think Weili comes in with a game plan and she knows how to strike. I think Andrade uses her strength to her advantage, and she doesn't always have the best game plan, but she knows she can get through it.
And she's shorter than a lot of.
Yeah,
this was at 115. So.
Yeah, and the only reason she beat Rose Namajunas to get to that fight for Weili
slammed her on her head
was because she was getting beat that entire Rose Namajunas fight, and Rose held on to a Kimura when she got single legged one time a little too long, and Andrade, being as strong as she is, pounded her right on her head and knocked her out. Understandable. I mean, like, it was one of those where you're like, dang, she just caught you. That wasn't even like, you couldn't even be mad because it was a great display of strength and skill. But, I think Weili's style just was too dominant for Andrade. And then I think Namjunas, when she came in and took on Jacek the way she did, and then coming back and beating Jessica Andrade, and obviously the rematch, I think just kind of proved Rose really was the better fighter. So this is why this fight to me is my fight of the night. I've got this as fight of the night. I think that's going to be
potentially
banging. Yeah, ooh. It's either going to be a slugfest, or I could see it being, if Weili is just her, because she has a lot of forward pressure, she puts a lot of pressure on her. She's great with her hands, has a lot of power. Especially generating from her hips and her legs. She's got big legs. She comes in very muscular, and she can throw some power behind these punches, which I don't know if Rose has really gotten a taste of besides Jessica Andrade. Jacek is more of a striker.
Yeah, Rose said she saw a little bit of Zhang. Like, she's got a little bit of all of her opponents. Her striking is kind of like Joanna's. Her pressure is kind of like Tisha Torres, that fight. And then her ground game is kind of like Andrade because she's a third-degree black belt, so
which you wouldn't expect typically.
So I can see why Rose is a little bit confident.
Oh, I'm sorry. Go back. Were you saying that this is Rose's game wrapped up? Like, this is what
Rose has seen all three of these things.
Okay,
and she thinks that basically they combine.
Gotcha.
Weili, Zhang, or people that she's beat.
Yeah,
right?
I would say Weili pretty much has a little bit of everything that she's faced, just all now put together in one complete package.
That's what Rose said as well.
Yeah, but I still think that's why Rose has had a nice little time off from fighting. So has Weili for a little while. So I think this is going to be great. Both these fighters are going to be well studied, well versed in their opponent, well rested, and I think that this is potentially going to be fight. I think it'll be fight of the night, hopefully. There's a lot of great fights on the card, but I really do think that that's going to be the one that takes the ticket.
Yeah, I'm super excited for that fight. I mean, we can run through the card. We've thought about doing some like individual videos, maybe just talking about a fight and then posting that clip. If you would like that instead of us just running through the whole card, let us know. Got a decent amount of views on our Jake Paul video. Not a ton of interaction. So, I mean, if you want to comment and like the video, that just means that we're seeing that. So, I mean, we can interact with
comments.
So.
Leave some comments, guys. Even if you're saying, hey, you guys suck. Hey, appreciate it, brother. Thanks for the feedback. But no, leave some comments. Let us know that you guys were there, because obviously we love the views. That's great, but want to interact with who our fans are. We want to see who's listening to the show. Because we want to run some contests later. So when we start seeing names,
run some things by you.
Yeah. So when we want to do some contests later, might want to reach out to some of you guys, and we want to start doing some things. And the more people we start seeing, names who are constantly there, it's just gonna help us know we're reaching our audience, and we're always going to try to, keep as much of our show, but we also want to talk about the things you guys want to talk about. If there's things that we missed, go ahead and let us know.
Even if it's like shorter videos, you like what we're doing, but you need like a shorter video, then that's fine.
If you want a quick summary or more in-depth breakdowns between newer fighters and whatnot, we can do any of that. So we're just kind of peeing into the wind here, hoping things stick. So